Welcome to the Nightly 5 podcast with Ben O'Shea.
On today's show, police desperately seek a woman who gave birth by a river in New South Wales and then disappeared. Plus, Israel's airstrike in Rafah draws international condemnation. Closer to home, King Charles might be making his first visit down under after taking the throne, while Rafael Nadal has relinquished his grip on the French Open throne. And the detainee headache for the Albanese government is only getting worse. In our top story today, a mystery birth in New South Wales.
Police divers have been called to a river in Sydney this morning, desperately trying to find a woman who they believe gave birth there.
Police, divers and dogs have been deployed today as police search for a woman with extreme urgency after a birth took place on a Sydney river on Monday. New South Wales Police shared a statement this morning confirming a search will continue at Earlwood following concerns for a mother and child. Police believe someone in the area may have seen a woman in distress before she vanished. New South Wales Police responded to an incident around 4:30 p.m. yesterday after a person walking their dog along the Cooks River in Earlwood found evidence indicating that a birth had occurred. Officers from Burwood Police Area Command responded to the scene and confirmed that a child had indeed been born near the river. Superintendent Christine McDonald said police had conducted some forensic examinations over the last couple of hours that confirmed placenta and an umbilical cord of a human had been located. Those were sent to pathologists today for further examination. Authorities are strongly urging the mother to seek medical assistance at the nearest hospital to ensure the well-being of herself and her newborn. Anyone with information is urged to contact Burwood Police or Crime Stoppers at 1800 333 000.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the strikes on Rafah that killed dozens of civilians were a tragic mistake, adding that an investigation is underway.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has announced that his country's airstrike that triggered a massive blaze killing 45 people in a tent camp in the Gaza city of Rafah was a tragic mistake. The attack has prompted an outcry from global leaders who urge the implementation of a world court order to halt Israel's assault in the area. Right now, Palestinian families are preparing their dead for burial after the strike late on Sunday night set tents and metal shelters alight. The attack took place at the Tel Al Sultan neighbourhood where thousands were sheltering after Israeli forces began a ground offensive in the east of Rafah over 2 weeks ago. According to health officials in the Hamas-run Gaza, more than half of the dead were women, children and elderly people, adding that the death toll was likely to rise from people with severe burns. Israel's military said the strike was based on precise intelligence and it had eliminated Hamas's chief of staff for the second and larger Palestinian territory, the West Bank, plus another official behind attacks on Israelis. In response, Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong said in a statement the Israel strike has had horrific and unacceptable consequences. She also said Australia has been very clear that Israel must not proceed with its operation in Rafah, where more than half of Gaza's 2.3 million people are sheltering. And she urged Hamas to release all hostages, stop using Palestinian civilians as human shields, and lay down its arms. This latest strike and the distressing images of dead civilians will no doubt ramp up international condemnation of Israel's military action in Rafah. But we'll have to wait and see if that has any effect.
He's prioritising Australia, I think, because he's got a great affection for Australia. He was educated there and has been on so many visits to Australia and will want to be there as king. It's the major, probably the most important Commonwealth realm in the world, and I think he'll want to do that very much so. So my understanding is, yes, he will do Samoa for the Commonwealth Summit, and before that he'll do Australia.
King Charles and Queen Camilla will visit Australia this year, despite his ongoing cancer battle, according to Sunrise Royal editor Rob Jobson. Speaking with Nat Barr and Matt Shervington on Sunrise this morning, Jobson said he had confirmed the news via exclusive intel. The King is set to attend the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Samoa in October, and Jobson said His Majesty will make a stopover down under first. Jobson added that the tour will be extensive, covering many major cities, but its scope will depend on the Australian government's plans. Earlier this year, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese hinted that the King was planning a visit to Australia, but the King's cancer diagnosis and treatment had appeared to throw that into question, given that he has stepped back from some public duties. It will be the first visit by a reigning monarch in more than a decade, since Queen Elizabeth II visited Canberra, Brisbane, Melbourne and Perth in 2011. And it would be one of a long list of visits to Australia by Charles, who has travelled to the country 15 times in an official capacity. His most recent visit was to open the Commonwealth Games on the Gold Coast in 2018, and he also visited the Northern Territory at that time. Queen Elizabeth II, in case you were wondering, visited Australia 16 times as reigning monarch. The Queen's trips would often last a week or two and take in at least a few states and territories and even some regional centres.
Well, the Immigration Minister is under fire this morning after it was revealed that nearly a fifth of the 153 former immigration detainees who were freed after a landmark High Court ruling last year have since been charged with new offences post-release.
Police have revealed nearly 1 in 5 of the non-citizens released after the High Court's NZYQ ruling on indefinite immigration detention have reoffended under state criminal offences. The Australian Federal Police have told senators almost all of those who've allegedly breached visa conditions, which is now a crime under Commonwealth laws with a mandatory minimum of 1 year in jail, have done so multiple times. The new information handed to senators will place further pressure on the government over its handling of this cohort and other allegedly criminal foreigners as officials face fresh scrutiny in Senate estimates. Shadow Home Affairs Minister James Patterson said the revelation that 28 of the 153 people released from detention after the ruling had allegedly reoffended was a further indictment on Immigration Minister Andrew Giles. The government is yet to make any preventative detention applications under laws it rushed through Parliament at the end of last year, although Mr Giles has previously said several legal cases being prepared are close to being lodged. A separate document from the AFP shows the 10 people who were charged with alleged visa breaches between December and March had racked up a collective 35 charges.
It's a big percentage that I will not be back playing here in Roland Garros, but I can't say 100%. No, I enjoy a lot playing here. I am traveling with the family, and I am having fun, and the body is feeling a little bit better now.
Rafael Nadal has pledged to carry on playing as long as he is enjoying tennis, despite a first-round exit at Roland Garros at the Slam he made his own. But he strongly hinted he will not be playing at Wimbledon this year. Nadal said the rigours of switching to grass for the London showpiece, then reverting back to clay for the Paris Olympics, would probably be too demanding given his age and recent injury issues. The 22 Grand Slam champion lost in straight sets 6-3, 7-6, 6-3 to number 4 seed Alexander Zverev on Monday, but showed enough flashes of brilliance to suggest he would have beaten most opponents. Having only recently returned from a nearly 18-month absence, those flashes have encouraged him to keep going and to target more gold at the Olympics. Zverev, on the other hand, is now one of the favourites to win the tournament as a top clay court player and a 3-time French Open semi-finalist. But the German faces even more pressure off the court, where he's currently embroiled in a domestic violence case. A domestic abuse hearing is about to get underway in Berlin over charges that he abused a former girlfriend during an argument in 2020. Zverev has denied the charges, but in October, the Berlin Criminal Court issued a penalty order fining him €450,000 in connection with the charges from Brendan Pattaya, a model and social media personality who is the mother of his daughter. Zverev is not required to attend the hearing, and he said he has no plans to do so. And that is today's show. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and join me tomorrow on The Nightly 5.
The Nightly 5 podcast is brought to you by 7 West Media. For all these stories and more, head to thenightly.com.au, helping you get in front of tomorrow.